the 80th edition of the UNGA, which is underway in New York. We're now learning that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has spoken at the United Nations General Assembly and has sharply denounced Western countries for recognizing a Palestinian state. Netanyahu has accused these nations of sending the message that murdering Jews pays off. He's also stated that a Palestinian state would be a national suicide for Israel. Netanyahu has emphasized that giving Palestinians a state 1 mile from Jerusalem after the 7th of October 2023 is like giving Al-Qaeda a state 1 mile from New York City after 9/11. Addressing the genocide and starvation allegations in Gaza, Netanyahu has denied these accusations and has described them as baseless. Listen in.
Of deliberately starving the people of Gaza, when Israel is deliberately feeding the people of Gaza. Since the beginning of the war, Israel has let into Gaza more than 2 million tons of food and aid. That's 1 ton of aid for every man, woman, and child in Gaza. Nearly 3,000 calories per person per day. Some starvation policy. Those who peddled the blood libels of genocide and starvation against Israel are no better than those who peddled blood libels against the Jews in the Middle Ages when they falsely accused us of poisoning wells, spreading plague, and using the blood of children to bake Passover matzahs.
Netanyahu has reminded world leaders of the 7th October attacks by Hamas, showing a map of the region. He has catalogued Israeli victories against Hamas, Iran, and their proxies as well. Netanyahu has stated that Israel is not done yet and it must finish the job of defeating the final remnants of Hamas as fast as possible. Meanwhile, he has credited Lebanon for its openness on the disarmament of Hezbollah. He's called on the Lebanese government to begin negotiations with Israel as he states that peace between the two countries is possible. And speaking directly to the hostages through loudspeakers installed in Gaza, Netanyahu has stated that Israel will not rest until it brings each hostage back home. Meanwhile, scores of delegates exited the hall as Netanyahu took to the stage at the General Assembly, while some attendees cheered and gave him a standing ovation. Meanwhile, thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters gathered in New York in resistance. They took to the streets in order to protest against Netanyahu. My colleague Thomas Porteus is on the ground in New York. He's covered these protests as well. Take a look.
Okay, we are here in New York City live. I'm Thomas Porteus and you are watching NewsX World live from New York City. We are here gathered just outside the United Nations headquarters where Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, has just wrapped up his speech to the United Nations. As you can see behind me, vast numbers of pro-Palestinian protesters gathering around the headquarters. Not going in, of course. But let's first talk about the speech, what Benjamin Netanyahu addressed in it. Okay, it started with a compelling scene of multiple delegations walking out of that General Assembly hall, a hugely moment in solidarity for a cause which is internationally condemned. This war in Israel has been a focal point of this General Assembly where multiple United Nations members have spoken out against. And many of those delegations walked out today as soon as Israeli Prime Minister took to that podium. He said, of course, this week started with a session which was opened by France and Saudi Arabia, the recognition of a Palestinian state, which included that of the UK, France, Belgium, among other countries, formerly Israeli allies. They formally recognized a Palestinian state here at the United Nations in New York. He said this was sheer madness and a reward to Hamas. He opened his speech with this and he labeled it as disgraceful. He said that the Israeli army are currently broadcasting his speech live into the Gaza Strip in order for Hamas to know his message to them. He was directly also addressing the hostages inside Gaza, and I say, and I quote, "We have not forgotten you, not even for a second. The people of Israel are with you." Of course, this comes as Israel presses its offensive into the Gaza Strip, killing 74 Palestinians from the Gaza Health Ministry. That is where those statistics are from. Within the past 24 hours. Now, many experts say that this ongoing offensive endangers not only the lives of Palestinians, but of course also the lives of those Israeli hostages. His speech comes after Donald Trump yesterday said that he will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. Now, this, of course, has also been a huge concern of both the Palestinian cause and also its Arab neighbors, who Benjamin Netanyahu has been linked to this vision of Greater Israel, which is a plan which he has communicated in Hebrew to his audience that includes the entire Palestinian territories, parts of Lebanon, parts of Syria, parts of Jordan, and he maintains in English that he does not want this to happen, and maintains that after this war is over, that Gaza will be governed by a Palestinian authority that does not have a threat to the state of Israel. However, there are other messaging that comes out of his government that says otherwise. And so there is huge concerns here that Benjamin Netanyahu's actions are only getting started when it comes to occupation. When you move over to the West Bank, of course, these E1 settlements have been approved by Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, and of course, we'll see the entire West Bank be completely split in half. These protests are here, of course, opposing that, and it will be a huge day here. We are, of course, here in America. President Donald Trump has been very much in support of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as the US government, which has funded this war throughout, from both the Biden administration and, of course, also the Trump administration. And so here in New York, we are here, and we can see huge opposition to the Israeli Prime Minister, who is here despite an ICC warrant out against him from that very body behind me, which has an arrest warrant for him for war crimes. Netanyahu is not going to be arrested here, as the United States is outside of the jurisdiction of the ICC. And so we will, of course, bring you all the updates in regards to that and how this will play out today. We expect to see these protests go on throughout the entire period of the day, and I mean, the scene here is electric. We can see pro-Israeli protests over there, some hostilities going on between protesters, and of course that address by Prime Minister Netanyahu was certainly a compelling speech, but of course international eyes will be looking upon it and not be looking upon it gladly. This is Thomas Porteous reporting for NewsX World, live from New York.
Thomas has in fact also had a chance to speak to some of the pro-Palestinian protesters who were, you could see, in fact, gathered in New York carrying banners and taking to the streets against Netanyahu. Take a look.
Hello, I'm Thomas Porteous, and you are here watching NewsX World. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has just wrapped up his speech at the United Nations, reinforcing his posture on the war, saying that Hamas started this war, but Israel will finish it. We're now seeing that conversation spill into the streets of New York, just meters from that United Nations General Assembly Hall, where the Israeli Prime Minister has just spoken. Some words have come out of his mouth, once again reinforcing that Israel will continue its highly condemned war inside the Gaza Strip. We are now joined by some people who are here protesting outside on the streets of New York. If you could just tell us your name and tell us why you're here, that would be brilliant.
Sure.
Yes.
My name is Jane Andrews. I'm here as a physician. Because I'm concerned about the healthcare workers, 1,800 of whom have been killed in Gaza, targeted specifically by Israel and by the bombs. If anybody hasn't seen Doctors Under Attack, a film by Zateo, it really explains the issue quite well. This war is being conducted with U.S. bombs and by the Israeli military, and I'm here in the name of humanity to say that bombing hospitals is a war crime, targeting healthcare workers is a war crime, and it needs to stop.
Yes, and of course we stand here in the United States, one of Israel's biggest funders of this war. Your thoughts of the actions of the Trump administration and the recent approval of all that funding that's going over to the Israeli government?
It didn't just start with the Trump administration. This has always had bipartisan support. So on both sides of the coin, if you want to say it, Democrats and Republicans, it's beyond disappointing. It's enraging as a Palestinian that my tax dollars are going to fund the killing of my people, not only in Gaza, in the West Bank. I have witnessed firsthand, living there, what the IOF and the Israeli government has done to the Palestinian people. It has got to stop. And it stops now. No more additional aid. President Trump, the additional $6 billion that you authorized, take it back. Take it back. Stop funding this genocide. Stop sending military support for the continued massacre of innocent civilians, hospitals, healthcare workers. And then, finally, if you're going to talk about releasing the hostages, release all the hostages, those held in administrative detention, over 15,000 men, women, and children as young as 6 years old are being held in administrative detention in Israeli prisons where they are tortured, raped, and abused. Just stop it all, now.
Yes, and of course the American support has been vital for Netanyahu and keeping his government going. Could I get your thoughts on all of that and why you are here today?
If America stops funding and arming Israel, this genocide stops. This is America's genocide if we are providing the tools and resources with which to do it. Therefore, every American has a responsibility, and further, every healthcare worker has a responsibility to vociferously and passionately oppose this genocide that we are funding, to demand instead we fund healthcare in the United States, not genocide. We fund education in the United States, not genocide.
Yes, so thank you. And of course, critics to your cause would say that Hamas needs to release the hostages. If that happens and they lay down their arms, then the war is over. What do you say to that?
Hamas has agreed to so many ceasefire deals that were rejected by Bibi Netanyahu and his cronies that nobody's going to believe the lies anymore. The Hasbara department, which is the propaganda department arm of the Israeli government, has failed. Nobody believes the Hamas argument anymore.
Right? They keep dumping money in to their Hasbara, to their propaganda, and it keeps failing. And they're just going to keep spending our money on slaughtering a besieged, unarmed civilian population, which is against the law. The laws already exist to prevent and address genocide. They're just not being enforced.
Ladies, thank you very much for joining us here on the program. Pleasure to have you. Thank you. Well, there you have it. Hugely heated here on the streets of New York City. We will, of course, bring you all the updates coming out of this. It is no sign of slowing down here on the streets of New York. And thank you very much for watching us here on NewsX World.
All right, you've just seen some rather dramatic scenes from New York. Meanwhile, Palestinians in Gaza have